The White House Office of Press Secretary released a statement on August 30th, 2013, stating that the United States government assesses with high confidence that the Syrian government carried out a chemical weapons attack in the Damascus suburbs on August 21st, 2013. One question that I asked myself when I read this article was, what would cause a country to bomb its own people? And the events that led to this attack were in a result of the civil war that's going on in the country right now. So I want to help everybody understand what's been going on in Syria the past couple years, and also what's being done today to push for a resolution. So today I'm going to go over a little bit about the history and the chemical warfare in the country, the growing refugee crisis, and what's called the OPCW UN Joint Mission, which was established to help get rid of the chemical weapons. So a little bit about the history and the chemical warfare. This civil war began in late 2011, and it's between the oppositioners and the Syrian regime. The Syrian regime backed the Syrian government, and the Syrian government, they support the current president, who's Bashar al-Assad. And the Syrian government have complete control of the entire country, and that's the way that they want to keep it. On the other side of the fight are the oppositioners. These oppositioners are the rebellers and the civilians, and these civilians want basic liberty and want to break free from the tight hold that the government has on them. So one of the main reasons why the government decided to execute this chemical weapons attack was because they felt they needed some kind of an upper hand on these oppositioners. They wanted to show them that they had more power than them. So when they decided to execute these chemical weapons attacks, it caused surrounding countries and the United Nations to kind of realize that they have chemical weapons and they're capable of using them. So not only did it cause the discovery of the chemical weapons within Syria, but it also caused 3,600 patients to flood the hospitals in the suburbs. And they showed symptoms of chemical nerve agents in their systems, and those symptoms included unconsciousness, foaming of the mouth and nose, difficulty breathing, constricted pupils, and a rapid heartbeat. So this bombing in Damascus caused all of these deaths and displaced millions of people from their homes. And now because of it, there's a growing refugee crisis. So according to the World Post, in an article named Syria's Agony in Numbers, the growing refugee crisis, the population in Syria in 2012 was over 22,700,000, and it's estimated by the UNHCR that at the current rate, half of the country's population will soon be displaced or exiled by the end of this year. So the UNHCR is an organization that helps monitor and aid and protect these refugees. So since the civil war broke out in late 2011, they've kind of been monitoring the refugees and the amount of people that are fleeing their country. So right now there's 8.8 million registered refugees. This doesn't count all the millions of refugees that aren't registered. Now these refugees are fleeing to surrounding countries, and these countries include Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, and Egypt. And these countries are facing internal and external stresses because they're housing these refugees. Internal stresses being that they have to provide all these resources for these refugees, and for Lebanon, for example, they're going to be in $7.5 million worth of debt by the end of this year because resources cost money, obviously. So not only are there 8.8 million refugees, but it also caused 100,000 people to die because of the civil war and these bombings. So this high number of refugees and deaths that occurred due to the civil war and bombings has raised an eye not only to surrounding countries, but also the United Nations, causing them to intervene. So the United Nations established the Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, and this was established on October 16, 2013. And it's between us, Russia, and the United Nations. It's a joint mission between the three of us. And on the United Nations website, they explain that the joint mission is mandated to oversee the timely eliminations of the Syrian chemical weapons program in the safest and most secure way possible. So one positive aspect to this kind of dark situation is that the day after the joint mission was established, Syria agreed to all the stipulations within the organization. So they agreed for the United Nations, Russia, and us to come in and help them get rid of these chemical weapons because they know it's not possible for just them to get rid of them by themselves. So another positive thing about this whole situation is that they also met the first deadline that was put out by the United Nations. They had to get rid of all mixing capabilities and production capabilities for chemical weapons, and they met that deadline at the end of last year in November. So the next step in this situation is the final deadline to get rid of all of these chemical weapons, and that's set for the end of 2014. So one thing that kind of stuck with me that the United Nations has said was that the international community must redouble its efforts to end the fighting through a peaceful and political solution. And what they mean is that, yes, we're getting rid of these chemical weapons, but that's not the only problem, and we have to come together, like they said, an international community, and help for finding a political solution so that they can find peace within their country. How did you guys think that was?
Oh, I think it went really well.
Yeah.
How about you?
Really good.
I was nervous because the information is so much. When I first started, I didn't know if I was going to do good, but I rehearsed it so many times that it just stuck.
How many times do you think you rehearsed it?
Probably at least 40 times.
And Cliche, how about you? How many times did you rehearse this speech for this one?
I recruited anybody who would listen to me.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to listen to my speech.
My dog listened probably 10 times. Got a little bored though.
And imagine that. See? What
Yeah.
do I tell you? Rehearse it, rehearse it. Rehearsal is key. Excellent. You both
Definitely.
did so well.
Thank
Because
you.
you can tell who gets up there and like they didn't rehearse because they don't know what they're gonna say.
And it's important to like relay the information correctly, so that's why I really rehearsed, because I wanted to make sure that the information was right and I wasn't giving false information.
Same for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're important topics.
Yeah.
So when you're telling people about them, you don't want to screw it up and tell them false information.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is important and you should listen to me.
Excellent. Thank you.